truth about the problem, but how to improve the system. Former Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division attorney. You have been a part of this. Your experience provides for a great breadth of issues to be covered. And you have zoned back in on the real IRS scandal. You refer to this exchange between Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe and Jay Carney. This took place last week. And Joe Scarborough was offended because Jay Carney was treating Joe Scarborough like the White House press corps on the issue of the IRS scandal and calling it a phony scandal. Here's just part of that exchange. Roll it.
Joe, I greatly appreciate that is the line that is being pushed by Republicans who want Washington to be focused on scandals instead of the economy.
No,
Wait,
Jay,
Joe,
that doesn't work. No, is that the truth or not, Jay? Is that the truth or not? You said, Jay, that this was limited to Cincinnati. That wasn't true.
No.
I want to talk about the economy, but talk to me. Don't give me talking points, because that doesn't work on this show. And you've been here long enough to know it doesn't work on this show.
Okay.
So answer my question, and then let's talk about the economy.
When you get to the question, I'll answer it. Here it is. What we said all along. I gave you the question, and you decided to fight me, Jay. So stop your games with me. We've known each other for too long. I'm not playing your games. I'm not somebody you talk down to from your podium. Answer my question, Jay. Joe, please, let me answer it. There is no question that activity that occurred at the the IRS was inappropriate, and the president made clear that he wanted to take care of it, and he appointed somebody who's doing that. What we said all along was based on the IG's report, which said that the activity was in Cincinnati, and the IG report and every bit of evidence that has come out since then makes clear that no one at the
White House is connected to this. Now, Hans, phony scandal or not?
No, of course it's not a phony scandal. And the way they are fighting criticism and questions about it shows you that it's not a phony scandal. If there was nothing to it, they wouldn't mind answering questions about it. They are, as I said in an article that I wrote, they display kind of schizophrenia about it. On the one hand, they say it's phony.
Wait, real quick, Hans, real quick.
Yeah.
They mentioned the investigation. And, again, Jack Lew, Treasury Secretary, was in charge of that investigation, just to bring people's perspective. He was on Fox News Sunday, and you referred to it as well as other shows. Go ahead, my friend.
Right. And Luke just kept repeating, saying, well, there's no evidence there's any political involvement in it. And so Wallace, asked him, well, what about the reports that all these Tea Party applications were going to the Office of the General Counsel of the IRS, who is a political appointee, and have you asked him, that IRS counsel, about this? And Lew hadn't asked him about it, and then Wallace says, well, has anybody at Treasury asked him about it? And Lew refused to answer the question.
What does that tell us about the scandal? I mean, to use the term, I call it a scandal. But what does that tell us about where we are in this? Because the idea that it went higher than Cincinnati, it keeps going higher, as you just mentioned with Carter Hall's revelation and testimony over the last week, and then you have Treasury Secretary Lew refusing to answer the question. Is this connected? Can somebody say this connects directly to President Obama?
Well, we don't know the answer to that. The Daily Caller actually checked the visitors' logs at the White House and found that this same IRS General Counsel met with the president just 2 days before his office sent out guidance on what to do with these Tea Party applications. And yet nobody has said what in the world they were talking about at that White House meeting.
So we have the meeting. We don't know what was spoken of. We have the refusal and an incurious investigator in Jack Lew, Treasury Secretary. We also have claims and strategies. I mean, we break these things down. We always address the false narrative, or the narrative, which turns out to be false, oftentimes from the left, just the truth, not smearing, just telling it like it is. And one of the things that came out was they did it to both progressives and conservatives, and there was a scandal and holding that information back. Of course, I know you know that we touched on it, but what do you make of that kind of charge, especially in light of the numbers?
Well, again, they're trying to damp down on the scandal by giving a false impression. The applications that were given a hard time were overwhelmingly conservative organizations. There were problems only with a very small handful of progressive organizations, and the criteria that they set out to look for, applications that said Patriot, applications that said Tea Party, they didn't put out the same kind of criteria to look for liberal organizations.
So it turned out not to be true. Yet we have John Lewis coming forward and doing this. Should we assume that when it gets into Washington, R's and D's play like teams, and if it's on one team, the other team is not going to, well, they're in essence going to sacrifice the American people on the altar of their political agenda, their political party?
Well, I don't think that's always true. Look, if you look at, for example, sex scandals and things like that, you find that oftentimes Democrats try to cover up for other Democrats, whereas Republicans in the past immediately call for Republican accused of things like that to resign. So there's a bit of a difference the way the parties treat those kind of things.
And isn't there a problem with describing the parties just doing what I just did? But my point is this. There is an idea to say they all do it, everybody's guilty, so nobody's guilty, and that's how they go, when there are differences. We don't like to go R's and D's here because it's about accountability, but in holding people accountable, we've got to look at the record. And we are seeing an aspect, especially in this investigation, where it seems that there are those on the left side of the aisle who are saying, we're going to run with false stories. We're going to try to cloudy the waters here.
Well, no, that's true. And the idea that, everybody does it, well, excuse me, but, George Bush was in charge for 8 years, and we've not seen any accusations or any claims that this was going on at the IRS back then, and it wasn't as if the media and other folks weren't looking for things to criticize the president about.
They tried to say that Bush did it to the Bush IRS did it to the NAACP, but that was a false charge as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, I mean, in the sense of the content of the issue, and that's the thing, just enough to get us deflected, just enough to take us off the issue, and it is frustrating because you can chase your tail in trying to hold people accountable. What is ahead in the investigation? What do you see going forward?
Well, look, this investigation really is being conducted by Representative Issa, and he and his lawyers are continuing to take the depositions of dozens of IRS employees to try to find out what happened. So we are going to get more information out of this, and that's going to continue to drip out and obviously annoy the administration.
May I ask you just a lightning round, if you will, over the other scandals, so to speak, and I want to go back to Fast and Furious. What is the status of Fast and Furious, and will we ever get the truth?
We're waiting in Operation Fast and Furious for a federal judge in Washington to decide whether or not to enforce the contempt citation of the House of Representatives against Eric Holder and whether or not to order Eric Holder to produce the documents that they have refused to turn over because the president claimed executive privilege.
Is there a time limit on that?
No, it's just I think the arguments have been made to the federal judge, and we're just kind of waiting for an opinion from him.
Benghazi.
Well, the investigation, I think, is still moving forward in the House, but they're having problems getting testimony from State Department and other officials because, as you know, they were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. Yeah,
and the Select Committee or an appointment of a special prosecutor, there has been speculation, certainly, that Boehner has made a deal with the president or the administration on that. Do you believe that to be true?
I don't know. What we do know is that so far it hasn't happened.
Okay. And when we go to the Department of Justice and we look at the behavior with James Rosen as well as in relation to Fast and Furious, Cheryl Atkinson of CBS News, any thoughts on that? are those things going to be pursued, or is that just kind of things that come up and they'll become part of the investigation, in particular for Fast and Furious, and I guess the Department of Justice as a whole?
Well, Justice has come out recently and said they've got new rules on when and if they will investigate reporters who have gotten classified information. And they seem to have backed away from and backed down from the kind of actions they took with Rosen. So it's very clear they were deterred by the publicity that came out about that, and they've already changed their rules on it.
Final question. NSA, is it in the same league? Would you put it in the same area as the other scandals, or is it separate and a disagreement on, in essence, policy?
I think that one is a disagreement on policy. I wouldn't put it in the same level of scandal, although the one thing that is scandalous about it is how in the world Snowden, who is clearly kind of nutty, ever got a top secret security clearance in order to even obtain the documentation.
That is an excellent question, and something that we will be looking for answers on as always. But Hans, thank you for bringing us up to speed. The real IRS scandal. This was able to do what many have done in a lot more pages, but you got right to it, you nailed it, and you made it understandable. We appreciate you, Hans von Spakovsky. Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Take care. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth, Hans von Spakovsky. Now, there's stories I'd like to get to today, wasn't able to. There is a story that actually is out of Mississippi that is very good news. I'll be speaking to that with Pastor Aaron Free. Good news. And it involves kids, teenagers. Yeah. Again, transforming the culture. Speaking truth in love. Hey, live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart, and always keep the faith in Jesus Christ and know that God loves you. He knows you. He created you. You have a purpose and you have so many gifts. Know that. And I say that as a disciple in progress, looking up and saying, thank you, Jesus. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth. You can check out the Facebook page. Like the page, engage. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.